I'm Dr. Mollie Marti. Welcome back to Resiliency Matters. Today I'm speaking with Dr. Valerie Young, a leading expert on the imposter syndrome. We are going to get to these 4 competence types that we were talking about, but I came across some quotes on your website and they really blew my mind, and I want to share them with our viewers at home. You play along, see if you can guess who is saying this. Here's a direct quote. I have written 11 books, but each time I think, uh-oh, they're going to find me out now. I've run a game on everybody, and they're going to find me out.
Maya Angelou.
Maya Angelou. Another one. At any time, I still expect that the no talent police will come and arrest me.
Mike Myers.
Mike Myers, the funny guy. You think, why would anyone want to see me again in a movie? And I don't know how to act anyway, so why am I doing this?
Meryl Streep, the most Academy Award nominated actor or actress of all time.
And one last one we'll share. I worry that people are going to realize that I'm a great fraud and it will end. And that was MSNBC host Rachel Maddow.
Oh, Rachel Maddow.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So, we're going to be talking later in our segment about normalizing and the importance of that. But if that doesn't help normalize for people, these are extraordinary, highly accomplished people. Yeah. And they're walking around in this world just waiting for the house of cards to crumble.
Yeah, waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah. So that's really was impactful to me, and thankful to you that I could share that with our viewers. I want to continue to talk before we go back to those competent times, just about some individual differences. My background is in personality and social psych, and so I look at a lot of the differences. This book is geared towards successful women, but you mentioned men also suffer from the imposter syndrome. What are you finding both in your research and in practice with men? And also, let's talk about women, and are there reasons why they suffer more, if they do, from the imposter syndrome?
Well, the research is not conclusive. There are studies that find that women feel it more. There's studies that find that women and men feel it equally. And there's one study where they found men felt it more, and that was with college professors, which makes sense because they're in academia and there's certain elements of that kind of culture that might lead them to feel that way. But, my experience is that it holds women back more. Okay. And I think we are more susceptible, Molly, because there is research that shows that girls and women globally, cross-culturally, are more likely to internalize failure and mistakes and criticism, and boys generally. Now, you're always generalizing, right, when you talk about differences, but generally are more likely to blame factors outside of themselves. So there's this great cartoon, this woman's trying on a pair of pants. She said, hey, I must be getting fat. Then this guy's trying on a pair of pants, and he said, hey, there must be something wrong with these pants. That kind of sums it up. So I do think that for women, we set the bar pretty high for ourselves. We feel like we need to know 150% before we dare start our business or raise our hand or go after a promotion. And guys are more used to kind of jumping in and going, oh, I'll just figure it out as I go along.
That brought to mind my son. So a guy, he has started in college, and he said to me yesterday, what is this with girls raising their hand? He goes, I haven't raised my hand since 8th grade. If I have something to contribute or ask, and he said, I just kind of jump in. And he goes, I'm in college now, and the girls are still raising their hand. He said this to me yesterday. Yeah. I thought, interesting.
Yeah.
Isn't that?
Yeah, we like to follow those rules.
Yes, we've been socialized. So that's one difference. And you speak a lot in universities and colleges. What are you finding among the younger guys versus the girls or the women? Because that's getting us closer to the teens. And again, a lot of our listeners are parenting those older teens.
Right.
Anything that...
Well, I can tell you, really in the last 3 months, I've been at Princeton, I've been at MIT, I've been at Stanford, Ohio State. So that tells you a lot right there. Yeah. When I speak to graduate students, it's 50-50, usually men and women. Because when you get to that level, there's all that pressure of being a scholar. On the undergraduate level, I think especially if for young men, if they're the first generation in their family to go off to school, then they're going to be more susceptible to these imposter feelings. So certainly there are, young men who have these feelings just going into school.
And the factor that stands out to me, and again, I don't have the specific research connected to the imposter syndrome, but from my research, I would say that conscientiousness, that personality factor, being highly conscientious, would really be pushing this. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you just think about the setting, when you're in college, you're being tested. every day, literally, you know? So it's a kind of an artificial, I mean, any school is, but especially if you were like one of the best and the brightest in high school, and then you go off to some school and you're surrounded by other people who are the best and the brightest, and you're like, gee, now who am I?
Right.
You know, so you start questioning yourself.
Right. So this is something, and we'll talk about it, I think, in the next segment. I want to get to this for sure. If you're raising a high-achieving child, if you're managing or taking care of other people, how do we nurture that? But let's get back and give our viewers another tool to manage themselves and run through those 4 personal competence types that really show there are good reasons why we feel this way.
Right. What I find is that what is common amongst everybody who identifies with the imposter syndrome is that we have a distorted view of what it means to be competent. We have set this internal bar very high, and they're unsustainable. So, for example, there's the perfectionist.
Okay.
So in their rule book, everything must be flawless 100% of the time, or they're very hard on themselves.
Yes.
Then there is the person I call the expert. For them, it's not about quality. It's about the quantity of knowledge that they have. And if you identify with the expert, you can never have enough. Wow. So you're always, you know, you want to wake up one day and feel like, now I'm an expert, you know, so one more degree, one more book before you ever feel like you ever know enough. Then there's the soloist, the rugged individualist. That person feels like it only counts if I do everything myself. So a lot of, you'll see a lot of young people very stubbornly refuse to ask for coaching, for tutoring, for help, because they feel like I have to figure it out myself. They have to kind of prove that they can do it themselves. Mm-hmm. And then there's, I mentioned before, the natural genius. For that person, competence is all about ease and speed. So if they have to struggle, let's say math is difficult or writing is difficult, then they're very hard on themselves and they judge themselves as lacking because they feel like I should just master it and get it very quickly.
I find that so fascinating, and a piece of this that I'm kind of mapping on as we go. I've shared our EASY model with you, the engage, connect, challenge, enrich, but our community resiliency model.
Right.
That's available to all our viewers at communityresiliencyproject.org. It's available to see there and to download and look at that. But I'm listening to these descriptors and I'm mapping it on about ways that adults can help kind of fill these holes in kids and help kids fill it in themselves.
Right, interesting.
It is interesting. All right, so you're really talking about managing self-expectations here. Is that the tool that we're hearing in this?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about recognizing that everybody struggles from time to time. Not everything needs to be perfect, always. I always tell people, maintain the part that's healthy. If you're a perfectionist, you care deeply about quality. But you have to let go of this idea that you have to do that all the time, that everything needs to be perfect. If you're the expert, hold on to the part that says you value learning. But don't expect yourself to know everything all of the time. Mm-hmm. I always tell people, you're going to have an opportunity to feel stupid sometime in the next 24, 48, 72 hours. And if you don't, I'm scared for you. Because it means you've stopped learning or you're dead. And it should always be about how much can I learn, not how much I already know.
I'm feeling everyone taking a deep breath here as we just normalize this and talk about, what is normal and what to expect. So tip number 2 is to set realistic self-expectations. And we're leading into this discussion that I want to have. Do you have people in your life, a child, someone you manage, someone you love, that you can see this imposter syndrome in their life and you wonder, how can I help them? That's what we're going to talk about next.